I think it is an absolutely brilliant transition camera for an F user into the Z mount. G'day everybody, how are you going today? It is so good to see you. Now, you might have the dilemma that so many other people have that I've read about in my comments, which is I'm a Nikon user with the F mount, or I'm coming from another system. There are great Z cameras to buy, and which one should I buy? And today I would like to answer that question by talking about the Z6. And as a Z7 owner for the last 18 months, I feel in a great position to be able to talk about how the Z6 and the Z7 sit together. And there's probably a little bit of philosophy around it because there's only, to me, there's only one really deal breaker difference. And again, that comes down to your use case. And as I've said, I'm going to talk about use case in every video almost, because both cameras are awesome, but your use case is what determines what works for you. Because we are talking about the Z7, and check out this. This is my Z6 rig for my live shoot, which I'm going to go through as well. Today we are shooting on the Sony A7R III with my 55mm 1.8 Sony lens. And very soon I'm going to be doing the E mount to Z mount adapter. So the two lenses I'm going to be comparing are the 55 Sony and the 50 Nikon, and the 35mm Sony and my 35mm Nikon. What does the Z6 offer that is different to what the Z7 offers? And I think the most fundamental difference is that right there. That's the sensor. Obviously we have 24 megapixels versus about 46 megapixels. I'd like to give an example. The Nikon D3 came out, I think it was in 2007, 2008, I think I got my copy, and it was 12 megapixels. It was the best 12 megapixels that I had ever seen. And in my business with the Epson 11880 and now with the Epson 2000, which you can see a video about here, I can create canvas prints over 2 meters, so over 6 feet in length, with files from that 12 megapixel D3. And look, I'm not going to deep dive on that right now. I will another day, but 24 megapixels is more pixels than anyone really needs. Now, I can hear some people going, oh yeah, but wildlife and I love to crop. Sure, but even if you crop your file from 24 to 12 megapixels, you've still got that 12 megapixels that I was just talking about. And that 12 megapixels I have blown up to over 6 feet, over 2 meters. So I really want you to think super hard about, you know, do you actually need 45 megapixels? Do you do very large prints? Which I do. I have the capacity to do large prints. I print them in-house, and that's fantastic. I'm not really a cropper, and it's only in recent years that people are, it's really only in the last few months that people have said, oh, but I really like to crop. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. I never used to crop because I'm from the film days, and cropping film really wasn't a great idea if you wanted to blow things up. There just wasn't the resolution there most of the time. And cropping meant doing things like enlarging dust and scratches, which would inevitably overwhelm your negatives, because I was reprinting the same images over and over again, and they would slowly wear out. Anyway, that's all another story for another day. But the most critical part, this sensor here, that's the most fundamental difference between the Z6 and the Z7 if you were thinking about it. Don't overestimate how many pixels you need for an 8x10 print or a 12x16 print. If you are regularly doing 1 meter prints on glossy paper, then yes, you need higher resolution. If you never do that, you don't need it. And some of the downsides of having a higher resolution camera is, of course, storage. So there's not only storage in the field, your card will fill up twice as fast, but also you need more hard drives. It's another expense. I have a lot of hard drives. I think I estimated I spend something like $3,000 to $4,000 a year just on maintaining my data integrity. Half the size, half the hard drives, half the cost. Yes, we've established that is difference number one. Difference number two that I've noticed and is talked about a lot is ISO. The high ISO is probably around about a stop better. I never shoot up there, so it's not really a big deal from my perspective, but you do get higher ISO. Now the next one is focus speed. I've got to be honest with everybody, I'm still optimizing what I think is the settings on my Z6 and my Z7, and I've recently put in some new settings to my Z6 that I don't have on my Z7, and yeah, it feels great and it feels snappy, and I think it's a fabulous camera. The difference between them, I would say, based on my non-scientific observations, sure, Z6 might be slightly snappier, but again, it depends on your use case. If you're a landscape photographer, etc., you know all the things, non-moving objects or slow-moving objects, both cameras are going to perform much the same. The Z6 might give you a slight edge. I wouldn't be buying the Z6 versus the Z7 purely on that. I would refer back to sensor is the reason I would choose one or the other. And finally, video. I haven't done a deep dive yet onto how the Z7 and the Z6 do video differently. I can see that the Z6 is sharper in 4K. It's definitely very, very sweet. So if you want to shoot 4K, the Z7 is fantastic, but the Z6 is better. No question about it. And of course, versus the Z50, which doesn't have in-body stabilization and isn't full frame. So that's the big fundamental difference between the Z6 and the Z7. So no stabilization, not full frame. There are more differences, but again, I think they're the fundamental deal breaker ones because you can't change those. You know, you could say battery life is less on the Z50, which is true, but you can address that, but you can't ever address a cropped sensor because it's built in. Non-user upgradable or changeable or solvable. So think about it. Really, ultimately, the focus thing is we're just talking a few percentage points, 10% at best difference. That extra stop of high ISO, well, if you're shooting up at 64 or above, you know, the differences start to show. I never really shoot up there, almost never. And 4K video, well, the 4K video on the Z7 is outstanding and the Z6 is even better. So again, it depends on your use case. No one is going to complain about either of the cameras. So I think at the end of the day, it's the sensor size and file size, just looking after all of that data, which will determine what you do. And then of course, there's the price difference. So the Z7 is, depending on what day it is and what sales are going on, the Z7 is almost twice the price. That in itself is a fundamental reason to not get the Z7. And I think it's a worthy one. And of course, if you're sitting in F mount, wondering, do I go a Z6 or a Z7? I want to start to get a feel for the system. There's probably more pro bodies coming, I would say sometime this year, or within the next 12 months. The Z6 is a great jumping point to jump in. It's full frame. You still get all of the advantages of the Z7. The only thing you don't get is that larger sensor. And so from that perspective, I think it is an absolutely brilliant transition camera for an F user into the Z mount. Start getting used to it, start learning about it, start collecting lenses. I really don't think you can go wrong because it's a superb camera on every front. But you don't have to spend double the money to start to get to know it. And let's also keep in mind that the Z mount is very flexible. It allows not only for F mount lenses, but also Canon's EF and Sony's E mount to be adapted. So that is another great reason why, if you're thinking of shifting from DSLR to mirrorless, that perhaps this is your best option. So in all reality, if it wasn't for the fact really that I was a D850 user and I personally went for the Z7 because I wanted cameras that were interchangeable from a client perspective. I could shoot with the D850 and shoot with the Z7 and the client wouldn't go, oh, why are these files half the size when I want to blow it up big? That's why I did that. But if you're not in that same boat and you're an F-mount user coming across, Yeah, the 6 is a real cracker. So they're my early impressions. The cameras are identical to touch, identical to use. The weight, the size, everything is identical. And they continue to be a joy to use. I just wanted to quickly show off this. So I'm wanting to go live soon. I have to say I have a little bit of nerves about it. Going live means you need to know what you're doing and you need to be across all the technical and you need to do it all in one go. I want to do it on the street in a real situation. Streetscape photography is my favorite thing in life, and I want to show a little 20 or 30 minute snapshot of how I do what I do. And it doesn't always go my way, but anyway, I'm working towards it. Let's dive in and see if this works together. So I'll just talk quickly through what's happening. This is the Z6. I haven't decided which lens I'm going to use, but I'm thinking it's going to be the 50mm 1.8 because that's just such a classic focal length and it's just such a cracker of a lens. Right now we've got the 24-70 f4 on there, but that's just because I was getting a sense of weight and balance. I've got a small rig cage on here, which is a beautiful device that allows you to attach all of these other accessories. Will be my mobile phone. This is where we'll be streaming here, and it's going to be able to look at what I'm doing and look at me at the same time. And then up here I've got the Atomos Ninja 5 so that I'm going to record the viewfinder the entire time. So not only will we be able to watch this live, I'm going to make a second piece where we come back and we watch the vision from the viewfinder that's recorded on the Atomos Ninja. We look at the stills that are taken at the same time, and then we will also look at them in Capture One. So it's going to be quite a production. I love it in theory. It's really all going to come down to whether I choose the right location and whether I find some good images. But look, the process is still there. It's not always about the greatest images. The process is such a big part of it. My process is very instinctual. It's going to be about me turning my instinctual approach into words. So that's going to be exciting. Anyway, I just wanted to show this little rig. So we've got the Jobby, the small rig, we're going to have the 50mm, the Z6 or the Z7. Doesn't really matter, actually. I even contemplated putting a GoPro out on this side, so we just had another view. But maybe I shouldn't raise the bar too high at this point in time. If you have any questions about this rig and how it all comes together, please let me know in the comments below. Very excited about getting out there and doing this. The first time I'm gonna probably not do it live, but I'll use this rig and shoot. And then if that all works, then we will go live soon, I promise. I'm excited about it, I wanna do it. I was sitting back thinking the other day, isn't it ridiculous what you can do with this and broadcast live to the world, create high quality outcomes. And all of this is, what is this? This is like Z6, so this is like $2,000, and then you have the 50mm, that would be $800, $1,000. So for under $5,000, broadcast live and create a cinematic level experience. The Z6, you can do this. It's amazing. My early impressions are this is a cracker of a camera. It's just as competent as its big brother, the Z7. It's really just about the sensor. That's the biggest part. Yes, slightly better focus. Yes, slightly better ISO. Yes, slightly better 4K. But it's all slight. It's all tiny little increments. And I would say the main reason is, do you want to save half the price? And do you really need those extra megapixels? And if the answer is yes, I want to save the money, and no, I don't actually need more than 24 million pixels, no question, this is the best transition camera from the F mount. There is no question about it. Anyone else can use it as well, anyone coming from another system or whatever. I'm not saying you can't. And actually, you certainly can. As I said before, don't forget, you can bring your lenses adapted, whether Canon EF or Sony E. This is what the Z can do. If you're a Nikon user and you're wanting to start to get a vibe on this, wow, what a great place to start. Anyway, as always, everybody, I'd love to hear your stories. Are you thinking about a Z6? Are you an F user and you're going, oh yeah, I want to start to play with the Z system. Where would I drop? This is the one I would drop into, the Z6. personally. Yeah, so tell me, what are you doing? Where are you planning on going? Or perhaps you have a Z6 already, and tell me what you love about it, and tell me what you don't love about it. I'd love to hear that as well. Okay. All right, well, as always, if this is your first time here, it is so lovely to see you, and I'd love to see you again. So please subscribe. Please share, makes us all smarter. Please like, because it helps get the word out there. And if you'd like to see more of what I do, there's over 150 episodes that you can watch right now. And of course, come visit us in our gallery in Melbourne if you're ever in town. Okay, I'm gonna go now. See ya, it's been awesome. And here's some more of these pictures that I should have shown you. It's such a beauty. I love the industrial design. Some people don't. And as the credits are rolling, I'd just like to talk about the fact that people talk about the lenses, you know, those that don't like Nikon, the fact that they've got a crappy feel about it and they look plasticky. You know, it's not true. The lenses are amazing and they feel great. And you know, Kevlar, which is not steel, and how it's 7 times stronger than steel. Well, there are plastics now that are way, way better than metals. I wonder if Nikon's doing something like that. I wonder, because sure, there is plastic, but it might be some crazy, silly plastic, mightn't it? All right, credits are finishing now.